Absolutely, drone shots there, you can just see how even within the first few hundred metres of this race, they've really stretched out a lead. Looking absolutely fantastic there, wouldn't you agree?
They really did look. I mean, their start was something else. They powered through the island and they got just about a length's lead over Birmingham at the top of the island. Birmingham not giving up though. They are putting in a huge effort here, but Brooks are.
They are just completely dominant. Any crew they enter in anything, you know, if you enter an event and you're drawn up against Brooks, it doesn't necessarily spell disaster, but you know they're not going to give you an easy race. Fantastic shot there along the water. You can just see how drilled and practiced these girls are. Fantastic smooth strokes, very relaxing their blades out of the water nicely, clearing it, looking absolutely fantastic as they come past our camera.
Well, they're past the halfway point now, and presumably they'll conserve a bit of energy. This is the first of the heats for the Aspirational Academic 8. Next up it is Cardiff. They are on the Berkshire station.
So next up we'll have race number 119, which will be see Cardiff University come up against Keys Boat Club, which is one of the colleges at Cambridge University.
And they are off. The umpire drops his flag. Keys on the far side.
So interesting to see here that we have Keys entered individually alongside many Cambridge University women's crews competing for the university itself. Keys, one of the foremost colleges at the university, they receive a lot of funding, and as you can see there, the coaching that they receive seems to be paying off. Quite a tight start by the looks of it.
Yeah, good start there as they head down towards the bottom of the island, so they're in top gear, trying to get ahead. Always important in these 8 races, whether you're multi-lane or side by side, to get ahead. And here, psychologically, it seems to be the top of the island is where you're trying to get your nose in front. A good shot there of.
Yeah, absolutely crucial just to get that solid start out of the way. We saw it yesterday where some of the crews could come from behind later in the race, but for a lot of these races, especially in the larger boats, it can be won or lost off the start in those first few strokes. There you are, fantastic shot there of their opposition from Cardiff University, just going past the quarter-mile post. Great shot there, looking on the water. Looking really smooth there. You can see the blade work from both crews looking really nice as they come down. Nice strong stuff from both of them. And on your top right hand you can just see the Brooks crew there finishing up their race. Again, so nice and relaxed, really dropping that rate down, conserving the energy for their later races, which they hope to see many of, I assume.
Cardiff have got their nose in front here as they're coming up to our commentary position, so good start from Keys, but Cardiff have just been able to maintain a stronger rhythm, a better rate, and as they approach us, Ed, what do you reckon, half a length?
Yeah, half a length going past us now, but this race is definitely not over. You can see on the crews as they come past now, you can just see in their faces these girls drilled, they want to win, they want to impress each other, and they want to impress themselves. They know they've got it in them, they've done plenty of hard long miles this season and throughout the winter on the cam. They want to put that to good use here at Henley.
Yeah, moving away from us, it's certainly no more than half a length. If anything, I think Keys are coming back into it. Cardiff certainly making a few more splashes as we look down the course. Ed, do you agree?
Yeah, definitely. By this stage in the race, especially with the aspirational crews, the technique can start to fall off a bit as they just become more and more focused on getting that boat over the finish line. Absolute power is their main priority down here. And I think it's going to be a real humdinger as we go down the course. You can see there both crews maintaining contact with one another. I don't think Cardiff's going to be able to pull away from Keys at this point.
Well, the camera angle here is a bit deceptive. There's certainly not clear water, so it's probably just about a half a length. Cardiff up on Keys as they go through the halfway point.
You can see there Cardiff going down there. They look like the more relaxed crew, as we'd expect from a crew that was in front at this stage in the race. just going past the enclosures now. All the support from their friends, family and crewmates on the bank will be, rearing them on to try and finish this race on top. Fantastic drone shots again as we see these two crews go down the Oxford Valley. Fantastic stuff. You can see Keys there just trying to maintain contact, but at this stage in the race I'd be surprised if they could bring it back. Cardiff University still looking incredibly strong as they go through there. Really determined faces, nice upright position. Really, really strong crew we see this morning. And it looks like as we're heading back up to the start, at the bottom left-hand corner, we have our third Aspirational Academic 8s race between Newcastle University B Crew and Oxford University Women's Boat Club on the right-hand side. Oxford University, of course, famed for their part in the boat race against their counterparts from Cambridge each year. And we expect a crew, whether or not they raced in the boat race, to be really drilled and really pick up on that team spirit that both Oxford and Cambridge really push into their crews.
You're watching the quarterfinals here of the Aspirational Academic 8s for the Colgan Foundation Cup. These quarterfinals will see the crews go through to the semi-final tomorrow, 12:47 and 12:52, the semi-finals for this event, with the final race being 4 o'clock tomorrow, the third day of regatta. You join us here for the second day of Henley Women's Regatta 2019. We're watching Aspirational Academic 8s, and on the course at the moment it is Oxford University Women's Boat Club against Newcastle University B.
You can just see there as they approach our position in the commentary tower here, you can see the drilling that has gone into these Oxford crews here, looking absolutely fantastic. Really, really solid stuff. You can see that nice upright position. Back there, lovely shot along the water as they come past our position in the commentary tower now. You can really see those Oxford girls. They're gaining a lead, about half a length, 3/4 of a length, over their opposition from Newcastle University. But this race is by no means over. Newcastle University, of course, coming to the forefront of rowing in the UK at the minute. A really, really strong programme they've got going on up there. And it's obviously paying dividends against what are classically held as some of the best university crews in the country from Oxford.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Oxford, no, they've got a race here. Newcastle nearest to the bank, fairly close to the boys. There's no real stream here. The wind is not going to be that crucial, but they're certainly pushing back at Oxford. So this race, as you say, is far from over. If anything, I think Oxford are losing stroke by stroke to Newcastle, who are gaining bit by bit.
You can see there, especially on a course of this length, about 1,500 metres, if you can just grab an inch out of every extra stroke you take, then even if you're rating the same as your opposition, you can grab that victory over this distance. Newcastle there looking very composed, looking very drilled as they come to supersede their opposition from Oxford University.
Well, they're definitely having an attack here at Newcastle. They can sense that they're creeping up on Oxford. They're moving away past the boat racks, and they've got the whole of the Upper Thames area to try and get ahead. It's about a third of the way down, and it's Oxford who lead Newcastle.
You can see there the Oxford girls, even though they're being chased really hard by the crew from Newcastle, trying to remain calm and composed, eyes in the boat looking forward, so you just see the bows of the Newcastle crew creeping up there. Intense stuff going on.
Next race on the course, which is underway now, is the third race of these last race of these quarterfinals. United Hospital Boat Club and Bristol University.
Just missed the start there. Both crews look very comfortable coming out of Temple Island and past the quarter-mile mark there. Nice shot of them going away, followed by the umpire, of course, in one of these traditional Henley launches. United Hospitals, of course, formed of medical students from some of the major London universities, trying to combine academic excellence and hopefully treating patients in the future alongside what are quite high sporting demands, especially to be competing at this level against a crew from Bristol University.
So passing our commentary position, it is Bristol.
Probably by about half a length there. Bristol have the lead over United Hospitals Boat Club. I think another race, as we just saw, between the two crews went down beforehand, Newcastle University and Oxford. This could be another race that doesn't see one crew really take a victory until that finish line.
And Oxford have just crossed the line there ahead of Newcastle University. It looked to be probably just about a length in the end, so the challenge from Newcastle not enough. Oxford progressed through to the semi-final, and their opponents, United Hospitals, up against Bristol. Bristol under a bit of a challenge here, do you think? Are they gaining? It's always difficult to tell from these aerial shots, but
it is. They're fantastic to look at, but if you're not directly overhead, they can be quite deceptive.
Deceptive is the word, but to me it looks like they are certainly not losing anything on Bristol, but the side shot there proves me 100% wrong. I think they are, what's that, just about a length down?
Yeah, just about there. You can see Bristol with their very distinctive checkerboard maquette style of rowing uniform there, leading out against their opponents from United Hospitals Boat Club, looking very, very comfortable as they progress through to the later stages of this race. Fantastic shot there. Well, the fatigue does seem to be setting in on this crew. Doesn't seem to be affecting their blade work. Very smooth, very controlled, very relaxed. Very well drilled crew here from Bristol University. Fantastic coaching program going on up there.
Yeah, great stuff. We haven't heard much from India this morning. I think she's just contemplating her rowing comments. Lady of few words, but when she speaks, my God, they're powerful.
Great stuff, there.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, United Hospitals Boat Club creeping up on Bristol. This race definitely isn't over.
No. The girls do look tired though, don't they, as they're going through now. So it's about 500 metres to go, and if they're going to do something, they're definitely going to do it now. And as you say, in these bigger boats, it's really, really difficult to accelerate them.
It is.
At the final stages. However, as the Romanian women's 8 in Lucerne proves, if you've got a bit of something left, they rated 50 strokes a minute in the last 100 metres.
Impressive stuff.
That was
really
something
impressive.
else. That was something else. Right, next event up is the single sculls. Hall of Wadham and Parsons of Agecroft.
We saw Parsons compete in this event yesterday afternoon. Incredibly strong sculler, as we can see from her start there, against her opponent from Wadham College. Just on the shadow of Temple Island here. Unlike the 8's race that we're just finishing off in the top right hand of our screens now, the speed of these boats is a lot more subject to change. Just a bit of a slip up there from the sculler from Wadham College. Just catching her blade in the water as we come away from Temple Island. Might not have decided the race, but it certainly will have thrown and got the adrenaline pumping there.
The next batch of races, then the next quarterfinals we have for you are the Aspirational single sculls. This for the Bernard Churcher Trophy. The single scullers will race tomorrow in the semi-final just after midday, and their final is at 3:30 in the afternoon. On the course at the moment, it's Hall, Wadham and Parsons from Agecroft.
You can see they're just passing the quarter-mile post as we start this race at Henley Women's Regatta. Coming down, both scullers looking composed, but of course, as you expect, being behind. Parsons from Agecroft is just trying to edge out on her opponent and catch her up. Not letting go easily though, Martin.
Now I see the umpire Just got his flag out, just warning her to get back over on her station. So a slight adjustment there sees her comply with the umpire's request, and she's back on course. And you can see there a little bit of wash from the boat, so it's all very lovely having this marvellous weather, but it does bring out quite a few launches and day boats that can cause a bit of wash. And again, just another thing that these single scullers, the ultimate discipline, as Redgrave once described it.
The ultimate discipline indeed. I think most people that have been in a sculling boat would agree the balance is almost impossible to maintain all the way down this course. These scullers making light work of it, and of course, as we said, any wash or anything like that can really affect these small boats much more than they would in the 8s. And as we've seen earlier today, steering is also incredibly hard in these small boats. The umpire getting a flag out again there, warning the sculler from Worcester College back over to her station as we just passed through the barrier.
And being warned again, so either she is very strong on one side and can't help but drift over, or she's trying to just get an advantage. But the race here is not over. The attack has now been launched.
That's something really fantastic about these small boats. Unlike the 8s we just saw go down, even in the last few seconds of these races, the speed can dramatically increase. Scullers wind their rates up, really give it everything they've got. And that is what we're seeing now as they go past our camera.
Yeah, well, Parsons of Agecross, she timed her attack. And as a result of coming under attack, the bottom sculler was warned by the umpire. Parsons saw the opportunity and has now gone through and taken a length.
It's a really disheartening thing there for the Worcester College sculler. She had such a strong start despite being warned for her steering, and just to be surpassed by her opponent at this late stage in the race. It's been a really tough race for her there. But by no means easy for her opponent, Parsons from Agecroft Rowing Club. Down in the bottom left hand side of your screen now, we're just seeing our next race of the Aspirational single sculls go through the quarter-mile mark. This one is between Grosvenor Rowing Club with Ibel and Walbrook Rowing Club with Gallagher on the right hand side of your screen now. Really fantastic stuff again from these two scullers. Nice strong start by the looks of it. Again, quite a tight race as we'd expect to see from these slightly later races in the weekend for these events. Just as they approach us now, they'll be battling the slight wash you get from the launches and trying to combat the heat. Lovely day for spectators, but it does have an effect on the scullers in the boat. So they come past now. Fantastic views for us up here in the commentary box. Much like our last race, not able for one sculler just to break away. Still only about a third of the way done for this race, as both scullers compete against each other to try and gain the upper hand. Looks to me like Ibel from Grosvenor Rowing Club seems to have taken that early advantage. He's now moving out slightly into the centre of the river, sending those puddles down to her opponent. A bit of psychological warfare going on between the booms of Henley. Really important if you can get out, get in the middle, especially in these small boats, less steering to worry about. Much more comfortable position to be in early on in the race. See them coming through now on the bottom of your screen as we just watch the tail end of our last race between Worcester College Hall and Agecroft Rowing Club Parsons.
The next race is underway there, Ed. This is the third of... No, it's not, is it? It's the second.
It's the second, yes.
Labal is out of Grosvenor and Gallagher of Walbrook.
Well, a tight race by the looks of it, Martin, these early stages.
Ibel of Grosvenor. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Grosvenor. Right. What's happening on the water?
It's a good question. So we've got plenty of shots here of the sculler from Grosvenor, just stretching out her lead over her opponent there, trying to sit up tall, really slow those puddles down as the wash, by the looks of it, starts to pick up on the Henley course. So we see now the two races in this, the Aspirational single sculls. On the top right hand, we can see our second race of this event between Grosvenor with Eyeball and Walbrook Rowing Club Gallagher. And in the bottom left, just as they approach the commentary box here, we have American Schools Bake versus Reading Rowing Club McDouglas. All these races that we've seen from the single sculls so far have been incredibly tight. By this point, no scull has been able to edge out a lead. It looks like the same story here again as the scullers come past us now. Not quite clear water between the two of them. Both looking very calm, composed. Lovely stroke there from both scullers. Especially Douglas from Reading Rowing Club on the right hand side of your picture there. The great drone shot, as we'd expect to see from a sculler from Reading Rowing Club. Really, really strong club. Quite local to Henley. Just as they pass through the barrier now, both crews still maintaining contact with one another as we watch the conclusion of our previous race between Eyeball and Gallagher. All these races have been incredibly close so far. Hard to call anything at this point.
The last of these races for the academic single sculls is on the start. This is Mackay of Royal Chester and Davies of Leeds University. They are underway. Davis in the red boat. Leeds is on the far side. The Buckinghamshire station. Mackay of Royal Chester nearest to the bank as they make their way through Temple Island, and it's the red boat. You don't see many of those about, do you? But they do look rather smart, very distinctive, and she's got away to a good start there.
She has. That red boat nice and eye-catching for the spectators, nice and easy to see for them. A little bit of steering issue there from her opponent from Royal Chester, Mackay. Not an easy start for any sculler coming out of Temple Island.
Last of the quarterfinals for the Bernard Churcher Trophy Aspirational Single Sculls. Next up we will have the Aspirational Academic 8s and the quarterfinals for that.
You can just see two of these sculls races unfolding now. And that eye-catching red boat, of course, with Leeds University, Davies just stretching out a lead as she comes through the quarter-mile marker over her opponent, Mackay from Royal Chester. As she passes that first mark there, you can see a really strong lead opening up. Lots of clear water between the two scullers. Just see there the sculler from Leeds University, Davies, just having to battle that wash that's coming off the launch as it returns to the start. One of the unique challenges of racing here at Henley, makes it all the more dramatic and exciting.
Oh, that's me.
As we talked about there, that nice distinctive red boat full of spectators, and it seems red is speed at this point in the race as we come into the regatta enclosure. Davies from Leeds University, got a strong lead there, but by no means is this race over. McKay from Royal Chester coming back, not letting her opponent go easily.
Right, well, thank you, Martin. Thank you, Ed. Tom Morgan here, guiding you through the next 3 hours of racing. I can hear your excitement already. Delighted to be joined by Izzy Copeland and Will Tyrrell of King's School Worcester and King's College Wimbledon, respectively. It is the Saturday of Henley Women's Regatta. It is a gorgeous day in the seat of the Oxfordshire countryside, and the race that is currently on the track. You can see the conclusion of 1, 2, 5 happening in the top right-hand side of your screen. The Aspirational singles, but Aspirational Academic 8, heat number 5, UCL, University College London on the Berkshire station, Newcastle University on the Buckinghamshire station, currently underway. And Izzy, looking at this one as it makes its way down the course, Newcastle in control. Just approaching the quarter-mile mark. Newcastle with about a length and a half, just striding away from their opponents from UCL. Of course, Newcastle, one of the stalwarts of the student rowing scene, consistently medal across national and international competition. I think they won Women's Championship 8s at Bucks Regatta this year, which is obviously the premier title to take as a student, and showing their prowess here. You can see that distinctive Angelino Savarino style, a long lean back, lots of power at either end of the stroke, just chonking it along. I think they've got nearly 2 lengths now over UCL.
So as they come past in front of us now, the crew from Newcastle look extremely smooth and powerful going down the river, really pushing much harder against that UCL crew.
Yeah, 4 of this crew placed second in the women's Coxless 4s academic category at the Metropolitan Regatta, clocking in 7 minutes and 38 seconds, and 3 of the other crew members actually placed third behind them in the same category, so plenty of depth in this crew. And I don't believe they are the Newcastle Championship 8 that won at Bucks, but you can see the way they're rowing and the style that they're laying down. It's a testament to the quality of Newcastle's programme that they continue to produce second and third 8s that are as strong as the crew we're seeing on our picture here. And you can see there the distance that they've opened out on UCL. It's quite substantial at this stage. Just a reminder of what we've got coming up. Race 126 currently on your screens. You're watching Newcastle University make their way down the course, several lengths clear of the University College of London. We've got 3 more heats of the academic aspirational 8s to come. 127 next on the course. Jesus College Cambridge on the Berkshire station up against University College Dublin Ladies Boat Club on the Buckinghamshire station. Then we've got a Durham Edinburgh race in 128 and Liverpool taking on Kent School Boat Club of the United States of America in race number 129. But on your screens now, that stunning drone shot really illuminating all of Henley in its complete glory. You can see there the towpath getting busier and busier as the day progresses. We head towards midday. We're actually heading back towards winter now, Izzy. That's a depressing thought. Summer solstice has been and gone.
I know. It's the longest day of the year coming up.
I thought it was yesterday.
Was it yesterday?
It's yesterday.
Oh, it's been and gone.
How miserable. Christmas
know.
will be here soon. Enjoy the sunshine, everybody. This is your summer.
So from University College Dublin Ladies, Orla Hayes placed second in the lightweights, women's first. So the crew's pretty strong. You can see them coming down. They're quite far away at the moment, but it'll be interesting to see where this race goes.
Yeah, just leaving the start, race number 127, Jesus College Cambridge, one of the collegiate crews from Cambridge University, up against University College Dublin, of course one of the, if not the strongest college crew in Ireland. Great to see them making the trip, sort of trip across the pond, I suppose, to race at Henley Women's Regatta. And you can just see, look at that drone shot hovering over Temple Island, just leaving the lengthy shadows that bit of land casts. And at the moment, it looks like the girls from Ireland have, I'd call it about half a length.
Seems to be the case, Tom. There we can see that the Irish crew have really stormed out the blocks here. Coming off Temple Island now, we can see the side-on shot of the crew there. And there's Jesus College Cambridge in the foreground. And it seems now that the Irish crew seems to be extending their advantage of this half length now, making their way down seat by seat. You can imagine the Cox cooling down the numbers of the seats, the crew alongside them. And now approaching the quarter mile. We'll see the numbers pop up on the side.
Yep, a constituent college of the University of Cambridge, Jesus College. College's full name is actually the College of the Blessed Virgin Mary, St. John the Evangelist and the Glorious Virgin St. Radigan, near Cambridge. The full name of that. So if you want to try and say that, you're welcome to, but I think Jesus College Cambridge is probably a little more easy for the comms. But actually this race, unlike some of the ones we've seen so far where Newcastle stormed out and sort of snatched the impetus away from their opposition, this one very much still in the balance here. The girls from Ireland out to about 3/4 a length as they pass our static commentary position just short of the barrier, but struggling to break that elastic that seems to separate the crews.
Yeah, you can definitely see the Cox of the Dublin crew looking across, trying to will on her crew to break that advantage and get the clear water over the Jesus College crew. But Jesus College seems to be hanging on there, coming past the barrier now. They could be making a move back for all we know.
I think that's the thing, isn't it, Will? In these sort of 8 races, it's quite hard to get the boat up to speed, and it's actually quite hard to get a substantial change in pace. In a single, like we saw with Drysdale and Kettle Borch at Henley last year, we can go from 2 lengths down to 2 lengths up in 30 strokes if you put your mind to it. In an 8, it's a lot more a war of attrition. You can't just move the boat from 0 to 100 in 10 seconds. It has to be a slow and steady move. And I think maybe Jesus College, the fact that they're still in this, gives them a chance to come back.
You can see that here, the Jesus College crew have definitely eaten into the lead that Dublin have. Slight overlapping there of the blades. The Jesus crew will be experiencing the wash coming off the oars there on the stroke side of the Dublin crew, feeling that the boat's right there, right next to them. So they'll be knowing that they're close.
So despite the pressure that they are under, the crew from Ireland, they look fairly relaxed. Not too much tension in the shoulders. Just trying to make sure that they stay with it. We'll keep one eye on that as that progresses down the course on the top right-hand side of your screen. But as you can see, our producers have split the image, and we're now moving back up to the start. 1 to 8 underway. 2 crews that will know each other very well in the Aspirational Academic 8s. Durham University on the... I'm just having a look at what's happened here. No, it looks like there's been a bit of a problem. One crew has stormed off, the other has stopped, and it looks like Edinburgh have
It seems like they're in the boom.
fallen foul of something. Yeah, absolutely.
They hit the bank at Temple Island.
Well, we've had something. I can't quite work out. That picture's not clear enough. The umpire's stopped. Edinburgh are completely stationary, and Durham have just rode off. So we will bring you more news on what's happened there as we get it. But at the moment, Durham just enjoying a Saturday morning paddle down the Henley course. Well, looks like the umpires moved off. Edinburgh are being left for dead, essentially. Durham enjoying their ride down the course.
They're not letting off here, Durham. We can see here from our commentary position they're still racing this, despite Edinburgh only now just moving out from where they've been caught on Temple Island. And now the umpire has the red flag out, and Durham have stopped just at the quarter-mile mark.
Well, at the moment on your screens you can see the conclusion of race 127, which is the University College Dublin Ladies Boat Club. Just opened up to about a length on Jesus College Cambridge, and they're winding down. That's their safe passage secured through to the next round. But the drama, certainly in race 128, Durham and Edinburgh, it looked like Edinburgh had a problem off the start. Came to a halt some 5 strokes off the stake boats. Durham rode away. The umpire conversed with Edinburgh and then sped off to warn Durham that the race would have been red flagged. So we will have to find out what is happening there. Didn't quite see it. Durham now being spoken to by the umpire. Looks like it could be Mr. Pinson. So, while we sit here and wait for a bit of clarity on what is happening on the water, a couple of results from the last 2 races. Race 126 was a win for Newcastle University over the University College London. The verdict easily. And University College Dublin Ladies Boat Club beat Jesus College Cambridge by a length in race 127. The first 4 quarterfinals, or the first 4 quarterfinals of heats of this academic aspirational 8 category. From race 118, a win for Oxford Brookes by 4 lengths over Birmingham. Cardiff beating Caius Boat Club by 1 3/4 lengths. Oxford University Women's Boat Club by 1 1/4 lengths over Newcastle, and University of Bristol beating United Hospitals Boat Club by 1 1/4 lengths. Well, you can just see on your screens here, race 128, somewhat disturbed. Durham University now rowing away from the umpire's launch. We will bring you a little more clarity on what happened there when we have it. But as we saw it, Edinburgh came to a halt some 5 strokes off the start. Durham rode away. The umpire has had a conversation with both crews, and at the moment, it looks like Durham are rowing down the course. And Edinburgh sort of following them.
the rudder.
So looking at the Edinburgh crew, now we'll see, wait for a camera shot. It seems that we have bow 6 paddling the boat down the course, and stern pair seem to be holding up with their oars to steer the boat, suggesting that they may have broken their rudder or fin. Also, we see there the Durham crew are just stopping now and spinning into the gap in the booms, which seems to me, Tom, that they might be going back up to the start for a re-row.
Yeah, that is potentially what's going to happen. Well, that will push things back a little bit in terms of the schedule for today. So do bear that in mind if you're waiting for a particular race. But yeah, I think, Will, your assumption might be right there.
So here
Does
we
look
have
like there's a
stretch
steering
seats.
issue. Well, while we wait for some clarity on what's happened there and whether or not we will have a re-row in race 128, 129 looks like it's just attaching to the state boats now, which is our last heat of the academic aspirational 8, the University of Liverpool on the Berkshire station in the white kit, up against Kent School Boat Club of the United States of America on the Buckinghamshire station.
So there's 5 meals here, Tom.
He's got a sentence.
So I think my colleague here, Will Tyrrell, says he has a bundle of notes on Kent School that he's put together himself specifically for this moment. So Will, take it away. Tell us everything we need to know about Kent School from the United States of America.
You've put me on the spot here, Tom. Notes here say that Kent School Boat Club finished in the top 3 in New England in the first 3 8s. Kent School Boat Club women have also been finalists here at Henley Women's Regatta in 2002, 5, 2015, and they turned this 2002 trip into a victory in this event, the Aspirational Academic 8. So they're no strangers to success here on the Henley course, are they, Tom?
No, not at all. And to be honest, I would expect, as I said yesterday, if you come all the way from the USA, you would anticipate having a little bit of speed. The fact that they're racing in the Aspirational Academic 8s, which is typically an event for student crews and not the junior equivalent, I'm not quite sure what the reasoning is behind that, but that's the race that they find themselves in. They're up against the University of Liverpool. Cox's hands are down and the umpire's flag has fallen, and we're off the start. Looks like pretty clean starts from both crews. Of course, no excuse here for any steering issues because you are being coxed by somebody who doesn't have the added responsibility of trying to row as well. Nice and fluid out the blocks. Nothing quite like an 8 start, is there? The rush and the surge. Very atmospheric.
Definitely not. And you can see there the Kent School crew on the Buckinghamshire station really charged out of the blocks here. As we get exit Temple Island now, we'll see if we can get a side-on shot. Yeah, to me it seems like the Kent School crew are ahead.
Stay there.
If we look there at the boat, the dark blue canvas of the boat, it seems that Kent have borrowed a boat from Oxford University Women's Boat Club here. And they will have spent last weekend racing at Reading Amateur Regatta to get some race experience in the UK before this big event here at Henley Women's.
It's always interesting, isn't it? I suppose there's no junior women's 8 event at Henley Royal, but whether or not these girls think, well, we've made the trip across to the UK, right across the pond, do we stick around and sort of, you know, try a quad out in the Diamond Jubilee, I suppose. I'm not sure if Kent are entered into that event, but I know we do have quite a lot of international representation. So you're probably getting a bit of feedback there from somebody who's yelling instructions at a Durham crew below us. might actually provide a bit of clarity for us on what's happening in that abandoned Durham race. I did hear that the Edinburgh boat is unrowable, so I'm not sure quite how that will implicate that race. But Durham look like they're going back to the pontoon, so that race won't be re-rowed in the immediate future. But here, we've got quite a race on our hands. Kent and Liverpool pretty much neck and neck as they come past us at the barrier.
I think this is probably one of the closest races that we've seen in the past sort of hour or so down on the Henley course here. As we said previously, a lot of the races have had a clear leader right from the starting point and from the quarter mile, but Kent and Liverpool currently racing it out. I think just from our view here and from on your screens, you can see that Liverpool's just pulling ahead of Kent, but we'll see if this continues up the course.
Yeah, great to see 2.8s going at it hammer and tongs on the Henley stretch on what is a beautiful Saturday morning here in Oxfordshire. Well, I suppose it's not Oxfordshire, is it technically, but the centre point between Oxfordshire and Berkshire. Actually, University of Liverpool, not a name that we necessarily hear that much about on the student scene. It's easy to talk at length about Brooks and Durham and Oxford and Newcastle, but Liverpool themselves have actually, the biggest struggle they've had in boating crews has been to overcome a lack of funding. So it's great to see them here boating a competitive 8 in the Aspirational Academic category. At the moment, they've just been rowed down a little bit by Kent School Boat Club. But I imagine they'll have a bit of gas left to mount some sort of second half charge. But Kent, of course, no mugs travelling across the Atlantic to race here on probably what is the premier women's rowing event globally, perhaps. Certainly it's become that in terms of its reputation. And they've taken it quite steady out of the sort of initial 500 metres, but have stepped on the gas in the middle third and look like they're stamping their authority on this race now. So I suppose it begs the question now, Liverpool having led in the early stages and now on the receiving end of what looks like a pretty strong middle third from Kent. What's going through their minds? How do they respond? Because it's been a sort of a duality of emotion for them. They've led and now they're being led. How do you mount a charge from this point? What's the psychological sort of barriers you need to overcome?
I think at this point, Tom, you'd have the Cox calling for everyone to keep a cool head. They know they're down, but they need to make sure that they just mount a charge. You'd probably have the Cox cooling down ready for a push, cooling it seat by seat, inching into that lead that Kent School have built up.
I suppose you do rely on your Cox a little bit at this stage because you can't see your opposition anymore, so you're not really sure. It's hard to judge how close they are or how far away they are, and it looks like actually Kent are just stretching out here.
Yeah, it definitely seems to be that way.
That typically American style, strong through the water, really powering it through. And often looks a little less fluid than perhaps some of the styles that we see from the British crews, but actually it's just as effective in terms of the way it levers a boat. And actually look at that, Kent stretched right out. Really, really impressive middle sort of section of the race from them. They've now opened up a 2-length lead on Liverpool and probably have decided this race at this point. You can see there. Crossing the line, Kent taking the win in race 129, so we move back to the start. This is race 130, Aspirational Club Coxless 4s Grosvenor on the Berkshire station and Agecroft Rowing Club on the Buckinghamshire station. Off the start, a little look there from the girl in the bow seat of the Grosvenor crew. Nice and clean. Remember, there's no Cox in this crew, so the steering is down to the 4 athletes in the boat. So we can occasionally see some errant lines, but at the moment, it looks like both crews staying their line pretty well. Coming out of Temple Island, neck and neck. This Agecroft crew are actually no strangers to the Henley Women's Regatta course. All 4 of the crew are in the Aspirational Club 8 that boated last year, and this is actually the 4th consecutive year that Charlotte and Grace from this crew have raced together at Henley Women's Regatta, so they know this course probably better than most. You can just see their line is impeccable, and Grosvenor looked like they were just converging a little bit, which is a dangerous game to play when the 2 crews are as closely matched as these 2 are.
Exactly, looking out the window here at the commentary position, we can see that the umpire had his flag out to warn the Grosvenor crew to return to their station.
So from this fantastic drone shot here, we can see that Agecroft crew really pulling ahead. They've got a really long straight, and they're just coming past us from our stationary position here at the commentary box. And all 4 of the girls have a really long, fluid straight that's just gradually easing them further and further out in front of their competition. I think they definitely set themselves up well for this race. They look to power down the course. However, Grosvenor don't look like they're tiring out either themselves. I think they're going to push Agecroft through all the way until the end.
Yeah, it's been something of a war of attrition here. Agecroft just step by step have inched away from their opposition, and they're just trying to break that elastic, get clear water, which means that Grosvenor can no longer see or hear them. You can see actually the crew on the left hand side of your shot in the yellow kit, Grosvenor, having a few issues with their steering. The bow girl spent probably as much time looking behind her as she has looking in front. Not sure if she's the one with the footplate, but at the moment making full and frank use of their station.
Not doing themselves any favours here, Tom. They're rowing in the Agecroft crew's wash, and also by not keeping a straight line, they're adding so much extra distance to their course here down the track.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Grosvenor are making this easy for Agecroft. If I was Agecroft here, I'd just sort of move into the middle a little bit and wash them down.
Yeah, you can see that they've done that here. Actually, you can see the stroke side blades of the Agecroft crew overlapping with the bow side blades from Grosvenor.
Of course, Agecroft, one of the biggest and most prodigious high performance centres in Manchester in terms of rowing, consistently produce quality athletes on the men's and women's side, and I'm sure in a couple of weeks' time at the Royal we'll have a few entries scattered across the club events. Not quite so strong on the junior side of things. I don't tend to see really high quality Agecroft junior crews. Maybe I've missed something, but they don't tend to have such a strong junior squad. But their senior squad and the progression from junior to student to senior has always been successful, and this crew bearing that out. Just see them enjoying their row down the Henley course. They can relax a little bit now. They've probably got 2 lengths on their opposition from Grosvenor, and still Grosvenor having issues with their steering. So this is race 130. We've got 3 more heats of Aspirational Club 4s, Coxless 4s to come. Next on the track will be St Andrew's Boat Club from Scotland, I believe, on the Berkshire station, and Worcester Rowing Club on the Buckinghamshire station. Local interest here for Izzy. It's King's School Worcester, is it? Izzy, where you're hailing from?
Yeah, I'm from King's, but we're common rivals with Worcester Rowing Club, pacing it down the 7 against each other. They're often producing really strong crews, actually. They're a really good club with some strong coaching and a good cohort of people across all age groups, so they're getting more and more competitive as the years go on, which is impressive for the small club when they're racing against some of the huge London places.
Well, it looks like they're up against tough opposition in the form of St Andrew's Boat Club, who recorded a 5th place in Women's Championship Coxless 4s at the Scottish Championships this year, so perhaps we could have a good race on our hands here, Izzy. But you can just see there on your screens the culmination of race 130. That was a win for Agecroft, provided that there are no interference or sort of intermediation from the umpire. Agecroft progressing through in race 130, so we can move back to the start for race 131, which is currently on the stake boats. So we're off, race 131 underway. St Andrew's Boat Club nearest to your picture, and Worcester Rowing Club out on the far side in that black kit with red trim. Nice clean starts from both crews. Looks like perhaps the Scottish crew had the better of the two, but so hard to judge from those side-on angles.
That's exactly right, Tom. And you've already mentioned the recent results of the St Andrews crew, just a bit of a wobble there. But also, the Worcester crew have been racing in this Coxless 4 for a while as well. They won the Tier 3 of the category of the Women's Coxless 4 on the Sunday of the Metropolitan Regatta in a time of 7 minutes 38 seconds. And look, we can see here the Worcester crew are actually leading the race as we come out of Temple Island. Seem to have about 3/4 of a length here. The St Andrews crew not doing themselves any favours with the steering, straying way over into the Worcester station at the moment. Now it seems that they're heading back to their side, as we can see from our commentary position here.
Yeah, a few troubles with steering this morning. We had a couple of issues with intimate familiarity with the booms yesterday in pairs and singles racing. Some people perhaps who haven't rowed on the Henley course before, not realising that it is a perceptive filter when you come out of that island. The river doesn't get any wider or any narrower. It's just, it seems to, because it swells with the buoys and then you come into the demarcation of the booms. But at the moment, it looks like I called this completely wrong, Will. It's actually Worcester who are having the better of the opening exchanges, stretching out to what looks like very nearly clear water.
Seems to be the case, yes, that's exactly right, Tom. Now, the Worcester crew, as they approach our commentary position, we can see the St Andrews crew are straying back over into their puddles again. But now the Worcester crew definitely seems to have clear water advantage over St Andrews Boat Club.
Worcester just look a little more lengthy, a little more relaxed around both ends of the stroke. I think it's a bit shorter and a bit sharper in the St Andrews Boat Club crew, which I think at this stage of the race, when you've settled, you're out of that sort of opening start sequence, it's important to just find your stride and find your length, and Worcester look like they've managed that with a bit more success than St Andrew at this stage.
Yeah, it seems just coming through this patch of wash from the booms. The Worcester crew have definitely coped with it a lot better. St Andrews crew maybe not used to rough water that you can experience on the Henley course. You can just see there on the top right hand corner of your screen the gap in the booms where the wash is able to come through onto the racing course.
So plenty of racing still to come for these girls, provided that they successfully navigate the heats. We'll have quarterfinals coming up, I'd imagine, later this afternoon. And then, of course, semi-finals and the finals tomorrow afternoon. Weather forecast not looking as beautiful as it is today, although it really is an exceptional day here in Henley. But hopefully, by the time that the rain does eventually meet us, we'll be finished with the racing. But Will, you're gesticulating madly at the screen. What have you got to tell me?
It seems like the St Andrews Boat Club crew have actually started to make a move back on the Worcester crew here. They are getting quite close to the booms, but just from that drone shot there, we could see that the clear water advantage that the Worcester crew has is starting to diminish.
It's classic commentator's curse, busy talking about how lovely the weather is, and there's actually some rowing going on. Keep one eye on that on the top right hand side of your screen. Race 131 still very much underway, and as you say, Will, it looks like St Andrew mounting a second half charge up against Worcester, but 132 also now on the course and has left the state boats. Another heat of Aspirational Club 4s. It's Staines Boat Club on the Berkshire station and Curlew Rowing Club on the Buckinghamshire station, and some more steering issues to understate it.
Yeah, we could just see the green blades there on the stroke side just straying over across the buoy line, and then also the Curlew crew leaving their station, being distracted by that mistake, and coming across their station onto the middle of the course there, needed warning from the umpire.
Yeah, you know, it's pretty dramatic when the umpire has to get involved. I think the general mantra is from the umpire, we don't want to get involved unless we absolutely have to. Much like a football referee, you don't really want to be seen or noticed. But unfortunately, in that instance, I think Staines were pushed right into the buoys. And thankfully, they've recovered quite well, and looks like we've got quite a good race on our hands.
Race still isn't over on the top right of the screen either. St Andrews are really making this charge on Worcester. It's hard to tell from the camera angle here, but the crew seems to be quite level now.
Yeah, St Andrew definitely jacking the rate up. I suppose you don't want to go home early, do you? And they're trying their best to come back and gain parity with Worcester, who have led them pretty much from the off. Two really good races actually on our screens. It's hard to split our attention at this stage, but I believe that's the last camera angle on your top right. So they are approaching the finish, and I think Worcester perhaps still have the lead, but it's so hard to tell as those two crews come up towards the line. There we go, we get our shot across the finish. The two crews should come into sight very soon. And whilst we wait for that, we can see Staines and Curlew. Curlew, of course, a boat club based in East London. It looks like Curlew, actually, despite that early steering mishap, have taken about 3/4 of a length.
And there across the line we can see the Worcester crew beating St Andrews Boat Club in a distance of about half a length, I'd say there, Tom.
Yeah, really good race that, really, really good race. So they'll join Agecroft in the next round of the Aspirational Club Coxless Fours. Shame for St Andrews, come down from Scotland, but alas, Henley Women's is brutal. It is a knockout format. There is no second place, unfortunately. Here we go, just watching Curlew Rowing Club trying to get some clear water on Staines. So Curlew, actually one of the oldest boat clubs in London, founded in 1866 and has been in Greenwich without interruption for over 130 years, although not always called Curlew. So certainly a club with plenty of historical pedigree. And actually they did really well in the qualifiers yesterday, coming through and navigating a successful passage to the heats of this event and putting in a good show so far, still leading Staines by what looks like just over a length, although working hard to maintain that margin.
And on the bottom screen we can just see the start of race number 113 against Oriel Ken and Tideway Scullers School, just hitting off the start there at Temple Island. It's difficult to see at this moment who's pushing away with the lead, but both their steering seems to be much better than it has been in some of the other races at the starts.
Quite a local match going on here. Oriel Kensington, of course, based near Hammersmith Bridge, and Tideway Scullers School just a few kilometres down the Tideway at Chiswick Bridge. Oh, and Tideway Scullers have hit the booms, Tom.
Oh, that's a bit of a disaster. We were saying yesterday, it looks like Oriel Kensington are right across in the middle of the river here, so I don't know if Tideway Scullers will protest, but it's something resembling something of a head race at the moment, because the two crews are pretty much in line with each other. Not sure if the umpire will intervene, because that is a bit of a boat stop. I've seen Tideway Scullers crews hit booms before at Henley and come back and win races, so you never know. But this has made their feet
The umpire has allowed the race to go on, despite Oriel Kensington maybe having a part to play in Tideway Scullers hitting the booms there.
Well, I imagine the umpire will allow this race to continue to its conclusion, and then if Tideway Scullers want to appeal, they have that right, as we've seen in previous iterations of Henley knockout rounds.
And on the top of the screen you can just see the finishing part of race number 132 against Staines and Curlew, where I believe Curlew are just taking the win there with a really strong race. I can almost hear my dad cheering for his old club. 30 years of rowing there.
Well, despite that early hit with the booms, it seems that Tideway Scullers are the crew that are attacking the race here a lot more so than the Oriel Kensington crew, Tom. They seem to be slowly clawing back.
Yeah, I think of those two crews past the barrier, my money is on Tideway Scullers. They look the more fluid of the two crews, certainly more horsepower on board. And actually at this stage, although they need to watch their steering again because they are coming towards Oriel Kensington, at this stage, I would not bet against Tideway Scullers at all. You can see there the drone shots. Bearing in mind Scullers were some 3 lengths down about 300 metres ago. They have wound the rate right up and have contact again.
It seems to be that clear water lead for Oriel Kensington is closed. Now Tideway Scullers just correcting their steering. Need to make sure that they don't overcorrect.
Well, we've got a great race on our hands here. Halfway point. And there is so little to choose between these two. Of course, the narrative so far, if you missed it, Tideway Scullers hit the boom some 10 strokes out of the start. Oriel Kensington rode away from them, although it looked like there was perhaps some steering issues from both crews. And Tideway Scullers have rode back to within touching distance of a lead. So we will be very interested to see how the narrative of this one develops down the course. Scullers punching along though, Will. They look like they are definitely in contention here.
Yeah, they weren't going to let that incident with the booms fade them at all and give up. They're really charging down against Oriel Kensington here. We saw on the side-on shot there that their bow ball was almost level with the stern of the Oriel Kensington boat. And now we can see from this camera shot here, as the boats come past, we'll be able to see what the margin is at this stage.
Well, this Scullers crew, plenty of pedigree on board. They're the same crew that actually came fourth in Ghent in May and also placed fourth at the Met in Women's Championship Coxless 4, so we shouldn't be at all surprised to see them rowing down Oriel Kensington, and it looks like, Will, they are now pretty much neck and neck.
Seems to me that I'd say that Tideway Scullers have actually taken a seat over Oriel Kensington at this stage.
Well, that is a remarkable middle third there from the Scullers school. We shouldn't be surprised. They're fierce racers. Every year they come and sort of produce top quality crews who always give their best and are in contention for silverware. Scullers really motoring along now, and how much of a motivational sort of feeling that must give them that they can actually hit the booms and still row down their opposition. So on the screen at the moment you can see race 133, Tideway Scullers School now in the lead. They've been led by Oriel Kensington Rowing Club throughout this one, but they've rowed them down in the last third and look like they are going to secure passage to the quarterfinals. Next race on the course will be a return to pairs in its championship pairs, race 134, which is attaching to the state boats now. Leander Club on the Berkshire station and Club de Aveyron of Switzerland on the Buckinghamshire station. There we go, we can just see